people, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you've just joined us. My name is Nell, and today I thought I would go ahead and do another story time about the time when I accidentally brought something home with me from Edinburgh, which was honestly terrifying. So without further ado, like always, grab a drink, dim the lights, and let's get into it. So this story takes place about 8 years ago, and probably requires a little bit of background. So I had gone up to visit my best friend Beth up in Scotland, and I was up there for about a week or so. And first few days I was up there, everything was great. We chilled out. She showed me like the sights around her local area, and yeah, it was just really nice to kind of just get away from everything and just spend time with her. And a few days into my stay, we decided that we were going to catch the coach up to Edinburgh for the day, which wasn't really too far away from her. So the evening before, we decided that we would kind of get into the whole like scary mindset kind of thing, because obviously Edinburgh is very old, also very haunted. It has lots of like ghost walks and tours and all kinds of creepy stuff like that. So we decided to kick things off the evening before our trip up there with watching one of the Paranormal Activity films, which I have to admit is probably one of my favourite like horror things for like jump scares and like a real like slow burner kind of thing. And anyway, yes, so we watched it, we got properly spooked out, and then we went to bed. And this was the Sunday evening. We'd planned the trip for the Monday, and everything was fine. We fell asleep pretty quickly, and then at about 2 a.m. on the Monday morning, I got woken up by Beth kind of kicking me sharply, like repeatedly. And the first time it happened, I was like, oh, okay, so she's, you know, kind of dreaming, like moving around in her sleep. And I kind of ignored it and tried to drift back off. And then it happened again. And then again. And then all of a sudden I hear this, now, no! And so like I'm kind of slowly coming to, like, girl, unless the flat is on fire, I don't want to know kind of thing. Yeah, words to the wise, don't wake me up at night or early morning unless it's, you know, something important. I'm not a morning person whatsoever. Anyway, so she's waking me up and it's like, what? It's like, you know, 2 a.m, what is going on? And just as she's saying the door buzzer's going off, it goes off again. Now, like I said, she was in a flat or a apartment, and you know, when the buzzer goes off from like someone like outside wanting to come in and you have to buzz them in, yeah, so the buzzer for that was going off. And so we're thinking, who the hell is buzzing the door buzzer at 2 a.m. on a Monday morning? So we get up, and obviously we're kind of keeping all the lights off because we don't know like who's out there or anything like that. And we're kind of peering outside, into the street below, and there's no one there at all. And so we're like properly freaked out by this time. It's like, what the actual hell? You know, there's no one outside. The buzzer was going off. It hadn't like gone off before. And to my knowledge, it hasn't like done that again since, like gone off by itself. What is going on? Now, looking back, I do wonder whether it was something kind of warning us that there was something kind of going to happen if we kind of went ahead with the Edinburgh trip. So Beth's apartment, it has some level of activity in it. One we're fairly sure is her grandmother, who kind of drops in every so often and turns the kettle on by herself, or like knocks stuff off the wall whenever Beth swears, because she hated swearing when she was alive. So I know that's the thing. The other kind of entity, we're not too sure what it is really. But yeah, we weren't sure whether it was like something to do with that. Looking back, I'm kind of I think there could be a like possibility that it was either something just kind of messing with us just for the laughs, or whether it was something going, you really don't want to be going there tomorrow. No, you're not going to listen. Oh, okay, fine. Well, don't say I didn't warn you, kind of thing. But anyway, so yeah, the buzzer had gone off. There wasn't anyone there. In the end, we did go back to bed for a couple of hours, just because, you know, it was 2 a.m. We were really tired, and we knew that we had to be up early for the trip the next day. So next day we get up early, we get the coach up to Edinburgh, and we have a great day. We visited Kirkfriars graveyard, which, if you don't know what that is, it was one of the old Scottish graveyards or cemeteries. Very, very beautiful, very, very eerie, even in the daylight. I'll post a couple of pictures up, and yeah, you'll be able to see just how old the place is. We had a couple of odd things happen when we were at the graveyard. There's an area which is like all gated and locked off, where you can't get to it into it, because basically there were too many reports of lots of people either being attacked by unseen forces, or like having really intense reactions to something, like fainting, feeling very sick, very dizzy, just becoming very unwell. And so in the end, it's just kind of been all locked off. I think there are still like tours that you can go on in it, like specialized tours. But to be honest, we weren't really brave enough at that point to look into it. Plus, as well, it kind of didn't really tie in with the whole returning on a coach thing. So I don't know, maybe next time, if we're feeling brave enough, we might go on one of those. But at that point, And we also visited the tomb of old Judge Mackenzie, who was a particularly nasty fellow, responsible for many, many deaths. And if you don't know who he is, he is definitely someone worth looking up just for the factor. Um, um, there's been numerous reports of poltergeist activity in and around his crypt, and when Beth and I kind of looked in and kind of like had a look around it, we also experienced something hissing at us, something like I think it was Beth who experienced like a kind of growl from inside it, and like small stones and started moving around, but when there's like no way of actually getting into it, like it's all locked up and sealed up tight. But yeah, it's definitely unnerving. And when we were kind of leaving the kirkyard, Beth had the distinct feeling of like something wanted her to stay, like she'd keep like looking back over her shoulder at it, and in the end, like myself and the friend who we went with, Beth's friend John, had to almost like steer her down the path and out of the gate, because like the feeling for her was so strong that, you know, I'm not sure to this day whether she would have just like turned around and walked back if we hadn't been there. So yeah, that was rather odd. So after that, we then decided to go on one of the ghost walks around Edinburgh, and this particular tour we were very lucky because, for one thing, we were the only ones on it, because wonderful Scottish weather, it's even more rainy than England. So we had that kind of, you know, going for us in a weird kind of way. But yeah, it was very cool to be the only ones on the tour, because yeah, who doesn't want a private tour of a really, really haunted city, you know? So yeah, our guide was absolutely amazing. She took us all around the city, then down into some of the vaults underneath, which was very cool. We took like pictures when we were down there, but we didn't really have anything kind of show up in it, which was a little bit disappointing. But you know, the spirit world kind of picks and chooses when it wants to appear, I think. So yeah, we went on a wonderful tour, and then it was getting towards like 7, 8 o'clock, and towards the time where we needed to catch the coach back. So we started walking back towards the coach station, and all of a sudden I hear something hissed in my ear very distinctly. It was like a witch, and it was very harsh sounding, and like yeah, it was definitely a male's voice. Now, I am a pagan, and have been for many years, and obviously many years ago witches tended to be persecuted a lot, and yeah, so that although it kind of took me back a little bit, it kind of got my defenses up a little bit, I guess. It kind of made me want to turn around and go, yeah, and what kind of thing. Like, I don't know what it was, but yeah, it just, something about it kind of made me angry. Like, yeah, okay, and so yeah, I kind of had a look around me, and there wasn't anyone like around us at the time that, you know, could have said that, at least on who we could see. So we kind of brushed it off in the end and went and catch our coach, and yeah, we get back to Beth's place, and yeah, for the rest of the time I spent up there, everything was just kind of pretty normal, aside from the last night I was up there. So I started like getting my stuff together and put back in my case ready for the flight back home next day. And I'd left like a couple of bits in the bathroom like the night or two before, like some jewellery and makeup and stuff like that, you know, typical girly stuff. And I'd remembered I'd just like left it on the side, and bearing in mind it was just Beth and I there, because this was before she'd met her partner. And so I went into the lounge where she'd been, and I was like, Beth, have you seen my makeup and my jewellery and stuff that I left in the bathroom the other night? I can't find it anywhere. And she's like, no, I haven't moved it. And so we searched high and low for it, and in the end we find it like tucked behind the mirror in the bathroom. So she had like the sink, and the mirror was like resting like on the wall behind it, and yeah, my stuff was just like tucked up behind there for, you know, some understandable reason, which we found kind of weird because yeah, I hadn't touched it and neither had she, and we were the only two in a flat, so how the hell did they get up there? So now comes the fun bit. So next day I fly back down here and everything's fine. This was probably the Friday or the Saturday. So on the Sunday night that I'd gotten back here, I had a really horrible dream. I can't remember like all the intricate details, but I remember there being a very tall figure, dressed all in like black. It was a black robe and a hood covering their face and their head. So I couldn't see any like facial features or anything like that, but the amount of fear that I felt, and like I remember in the stream just kind of doing everything I could to try to get away from this figure. Like I did not want anything to do with it. I was terrified, and the aura of malice it gave off, it just kind of made my skin crawl. And I remember waking up from this dream, this nightmare, and I was crying, I was shaking, I was covered in sweat from head to toe. The sheets were all like runched up around me. You know, it was clear I'd been like really like struggling and moving around in my sleep, and I had like a blanket that was usually at the foot of my bed, and somehow that had like rolled up, and it had rolled up like around my chest and my neck, so much so that I had to like push it off when I woke up, because it felt like it wasn't like tight, but just having anything like up round here, it freaks me out. And yeah, I remember like not being able to sleep properly afterwards that night because I was just so scared and everything was just so vivid. And yeah, it terrified me. And I'm not the type to get nightmares as intense as that. Like, I will get like the occasional bad dream and stuff, but it's been a very long time since I've had any dream as intense and as scary as that. So the next day obviously was the Monday and I was back at work, so off I went. And when I got home in the evening, I was really tired, probably understandably so. First day back at work, not a great night's sleep the night before. And the first kind of idea that something wasn't quite right was when I opened my apartment door to walk in, and my cat I had at the time, Jess, she streaked out of my apartment door so fast, and it took a good like 10-15 minutes to get here, to get her back in. And she was, well, she was, I'm like, I hadn't seen her like that, like, ever before. She was all fluffed up, she was hissing, she was terrified, like something had seriously spooked her. And like, even when I went to like go and pick her up and take her back inside, like, she was like struggling against me trying to get down because she didn't want to come back in here, which had never happened before, never happened since. Yeah, there was something that she didn't like. And so I finally managed to get her back in, and she was not having any of my like fussing or like trying to calm her down. She didn't want to know. And so I wanted to go into my bedroom to like get changed from work and kind of leave her to it a little bit. And when you're so tired, like something happens and it kind of takes you a couple of seconds for it to like register properly. So I went to walk into my bedroom and I tripped over something. And like I said, it kind of took me a couple of seconds to register, like, one, that I'd like tripped over, and two, what I tripped over. And I turned around and like focused on what was on the floor in front of me in the doorway of my room, and it was the suitcase that I'd taken up to Scotland with me. And I'm stood there looking at the suitcase going, how the hell did it get there? Because I had tucked it like underneath my bed, farthest from the door. And like the way the bed's set up, like underneath, for structure, you've got like a pole that runs down like the middle of it, so you can put stuff on one side or the other, but like you can't push it like all the way through. And so it's like, well, hang on, how did that get there? Because I had put this suitcase on the far side, tucked under the far side of my bed. How did it get in there? Because obviously it was just me living here at the time. It couldn't have been moved by the cat because she's the cat. So how did it get in there? And it really scared me because it kind of gave me the feeling of like being told to get out or to leave. And yeah, I have to admit I took great offence at that, and I instantly thought back to, obviously, you know, my time in Edinburgh and Scotland, the thing I'd heard hissed at me, the dream I'd had the night before, and I got to thinking, you know, could I have brought something back with me that, you know, obviously doesn't like me and doesn't like what I am and what I'm about? And so I thought, right, you know what? You come into my space, you mess with my pet, you mess with me. No, no way, not standing for it. So I said out loud very clearly, you know, if you are a negative spirit, negative entity, you are not welcome here. This is my space. You will not threaten my space. Yeah, and basically told it to leave. And like, for the remainder of the evening, like, a Jess, my cat, kind of would stare at something like in the hallway or in the doorway of my room, like ever so often, and hiss. But then it kind of got like less and less as the evening wore on. And then just before I went to bed, again, I kind of reiterated my point of, if you are a negative entity, you are not welcome. I banish you. And after that, nothing else happened. I had no other kind of activity here at all. Everything kind of went back to normal with Jess, and yeah, that was the last I kind of heard from whatever it was. And yeah, whether it was the attachment that had decided to like come along for the ride, or something just like passing through that just seemed to like coincide with the fact that, you know, I'd had all these odd experiences on this trip and the dream I'd had the night before, so my defences were lowered. Who knows? But yeah, it's something that I will never forget, and hopefully it'll never happen again. So yeah, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time. Until then, stay safe and sweet dreams.